Welcome back, Tribe. Got an interesting clip here from a conversation between Michael Sartain and Austin Dunham. Let's get into it.
Girl game, and this is a game for the girls, is that to some degree you do want to sell purity, but you want to allow it to progress each time you meet the guy.
I say this on my show all the time. I was like, when a woman keeps telling you she won't sleep with you on the first date, and she just keeps bringing it up over and over again, you want to know why that is? It's because she slept with someone on the first date. You talked about the concept of women selling purity or telling you that they're celibate. Can you go over that?
Yeah, sometimes on dates you'll come across girls who will make it clear or very overt to you that, hey, my intentions tonight aren't sexual, or I've been in this phase of my life, so don't be expecting anything. And that tells me a few things. Like, if they're celibate, two reasons. Either you're celibate because you weren't celibate for a long period of time, and now you're in a phase where you kind of want to take a break from all the D you've been taking.
The epiphany phase that Rollo talks about. Yeah,
exactly. Especially, older women, 26, 27 plus, especially. Or two, you're just plain out lying. You're just trying to sell purity to me so that I can take you seriously because you see value in me, or in some type of way I position myself in the husband box. And for that reason, you don't see me as a fun time, and sometimes I'll put myself in this box by accident, through conversation. If I'm too invested into her life or career, or what.
Keep in mind, he's talking about the perspective of dating apps and hookup culture and meeting girls off dating apps with the intention of having sex. So
you want, sometimes you can put yourself in that husband box, and for that reason, a woman will kind of change her mind about you. So for the most part, has almost always been a lie once I get to know the girl, and I kind of do, we have conversations and I backtrack and I'm like, okay, you actually were not celibate throughout that time.
Yeah.
They just love selling purity to guys who they find very attractive, or they want some sort of commitment from.
Sleeping with your ex apparently didn't count. That's what they were saying. Yeah, no, the selling purity thing I think is really interesting. When they say that they're celibate or something like that, or something to that effect. The other concept, the reason why I think it's really important for guys to understand this, to grasp this concept. I just finished Alan Roger Curry's, one of his books yesterday or a couple days ago. And one of the things he talks about at the end is why men become misogynists. And I don't agree with everything Alan Roger Curry has to say, but I do agree with this very much so. It's not when a man gets rejected by a woman. It's when a man wastes his time believing that a woman is sitting there, she's selling purity. She's like, oh,
I think he's talking about mode one, and I brought it up on a few episodes prior.
You should just wait. We're not going to have sex on the first date, second date, third date. And then she becomes his male girlfriend. And then he finds out that she did sleep with a guy the first time she met him while their friendship was going on. That's where the resentment actually comes. And if you don't understand this concept of women selling purity, you can put yourself into that trap.
Yeah, exactly. I have a few beliefs that might be controversial. The first one is that no girl is ever truly single. They're always either talking to a guy.
Facts. And this, I've seen it in the dating game when I was in the thick of it in college, especially with Tinder on the scene and Bumble just getting started. And, massive amounts of casual sex was going on in the college campus and just in the town. It's a college town. And obviously that's experimental phase for everybody. There was not a single woman that wasn't talking to somebody else or sleeping with somebody else while also talking to you. Everybody was exercising their options, and women have a million more options than men. You're never the only guy. You're just the guy in first place if she's paying attention to you and talking to you. And then there's always the runner-up. Always. There's the plan B. There was that video, I don't know if you guys remember, but 50% of married women have a backup guy. Married women. Let me find it for you. There's jaws being dropped right now in disbelief.
If you were in a relationship, should you really have a backup plan? There is new research that shows half of all women have a guy on the back burner just in case things go wrong in their current relationship.
Reading this data, more than half of women who are married and categorize themselves as happily married.
Sec.
They're married.
Happily married women are doing this?
Have a backup.
Happily married has backup plans. The game's cold, baby. I try to tell it to you, but you don't believe me.
Guy planning to meet up with a guy, currently sleeping with a guy, whether it be their ex or a past guy, or planning to.
You get this through your head because it's going to hurt your feelings. You dating, and that's married women. A single woman out on the prowl dating, looking for the one, has so many men you wouldn't believe it. Most of the time, if you knew the truth, you would be disgusted and you'd stop talking to them. This is just the game. It's always been this way, and it will always be this way. It's been back in the day when your great grandpappy was on a horse and carriage on his little car and was like, Miss Bellbottom, thou art so beautiful. May I take your hand in marriage? I will thus court your father this evening for an answer. Back in those days, Miss Bellbottom had 6, 7 dudes wanting to marry her and probably sleeping with 1 or 2 on the down low, of course, because she may get disowned back in those days. But nonetheless, and in the Arab world, it's funny because the homies tell me all the time, I got a bunch of Arab friends, obviously being to Dubai a bunch of times, that are aware in this sphere as well. And they'll tell you, in order to keep their hymen intact, they'll do backdoor activities up until they meet their husband or go and get the surgery that fixes it, puts it back in place. This is just human nature, man. You can't get mad at a dog for wagging its tail. This is the life we live. We're animals, and we operate on a base instinct that's gotten us this far in society. Some people have stronger urges than others. Some people have more control over themselves than others. It's unfortunately extremely hard to tell. The best you can do is, how well does my woman treat me? You start asking outright about past, or trying to find out an exact number of sexual partners, or pry into previous relationships, all that shit. You getting the truth out of somebody is next to zero. You can maybe get somewhat of an estimate. And even then, your mind is going to run wild and ruin it for you. This is why we say low body count matters. Try not to deal with all this stuff. But again, how do you find low body count in a society that doesn't socially stigmatize hypersexuality, hookup culture, casual sex, one night stands, all that stuff? There is nothing. There's no negative there to engaging in any of this. There's no social stigma from the family, being looked down upon, society as a whole. Nothing. It's empowered today. It's discovering yourself. I don't tell you guys, if you're dating in the West, man, never, ever, ever assume you're the only one. If you're the one currently porking her, you're just in first place. That's why they say she's not yours. It's just your turn.
Sleep with a guy, like, no girls like truly ever just chilling. And if they are, then it's purely by choice for the reasons that I mentioned before. But yeah, but also in terms of girl game, and this is game for the girls, is that to some degree you do want to sell purity, but you want to allow it to progress each time you meet the guy. So most guys are going to classify you as, a slut or easy if you sleep with him on the first date, or especially if it was really fast, like you guys talked for 20 minutes and then took you back to your place. Yes, and guys are going to think you're easy. However, if you let things physically escalate a little bit each date, so the first date, yeah, you guys hug with a kiss. Second date, you make out with some light touching. Third date, he gets close, some nipple play or something. Fourth date, you go all the way. And if girls would approach it more that way, the guy would still be able to get what they want, or it'll be mutual. Both will get what they want, but also the guy will also respect the woman more, and for that reason, it will turn into.
And if women are listening and they want to get a player or a high value man or some dude that gets a lot of women, just a guy you find attractive at the top percentile, he's telling you the game in reverse of what men are looking for, how you should behave as a woman to catch this guy. Women are going in the complete opposite direction, thinking if they sleep fast with the guy, they can maybe woo him in bed and get him emotionally attached. It doesn't work that way. That's how it works for women. But if you finally meet one of these high value men and you really want him, you got to be the most ladylike you could possibly be. And unfortunately, if we're being real, as far as sexual strategy goes, where there's no morality inserted here, you got to lie. That is immoral to a lot of people. But I'm telling you right now, in order to land a man, and most girls already do this, my friends, most of you are in relationships with the women that have lied, or been in a relationship with women that have lied about their body count for this precise reason. They know exactly. And they felt the judgment from other men the moment they actually told the truth to like one guy, and oops, poof, he disappears. The brutal strategy, the reality, forget red pill now, we're talking biology and sexual interdynamics between men and women. The brutal reality is that women are incentivized and should lie in order to land the man that they want. Because if they tell the truth, that guy's running away. That's what it is.
Something more fruitful. And that's personally something that also has happened to me and the girl who I'm seeing now, is that the progression happened very like that. I'm not sure if it was planned or it was probably strategic.
Yeah.
But the way she went about that was very, very, very good, and I applaud that for her because it definitely worked.
Yeah, and I talked to my my girlfriend, and it was the third night that we were hanging out. But by the way, I was hosting a bikini competition in Cancun, and there were 70 girls competing, and it was the third night we hung out that we ended up being together. And she told me, she's like, I wanted to on the first night, but I wasn't going to do that on the first night. So that's another thing that you find out, is there genuine desire. It's not a problem if a girl makes a guy wait 2 or 3 dates. It's just that if you're going to make me wait, but Chad and Tyrone don't wait. That's where I think a lot of girls don't see where the issue is, and a lot of guys don't recognize that you think you're a woman selling you purity, and it's her adaptation for you to believe she's pure. And she's not deliberately lying to be, malicious, but it's a situation where she's doing this so that you'll respect her more and find her more attractive. So it does, that whole thing does become very difficult. But I think the term I like, I've heard before, is women break rules for alphas and make rules for betas. And if you don't recognize that as the case, then when it happens to you, you're going to be very upset. I can't think of anything that would probably make a guy more upset than that whole concept of like spending a bunch of time and money. And I'll give you one other thing you mentioned before.
And we as men know why that is. It's simply, and women don't understand this, but for the women listening, a man feels like you liked him more because you opened yourself up to the other man faster, which means the bond, the attraction was stronger, which means you have a preference for that guy. It's almost like the man feels like he has to prove himself more, that he's worthy of you having sex with him, of you liking him that much, as opposed to you instantaneously knowing you wanted to have sex with that guy right away and gave it up to him. That's how a man sees it from his point of view. And this is the mistake so many women make when they give it up too easy to guys that aren't deserving. But when they meet a good man, they make him wait, which is the wrong thing. You should be highly selective with who you give your body to, period. But when you meet a real good man and you really do like him, then you give it up. You need to vet him a little bit. Opening your legs up to get a man's love is the wrong way about it.
About leading with money. I live in a city, and
I'll make this link for the women so they could understand. It's like a man opening up his wallet to try to get your love and attention. What are you more inclined to do? Use him for his things because you don't really like him and that's all he has to offer? Or actually really love him? You're going to use him. Just like if you open your legs up to a man and you offer him that to try to get his love and his attention, he's just going to use you for that, even if he doesn't really like you. It's the same thing.
So do you, where there's a lot of sugar babies. And I'll talk to a lot of these girls because I'm really interested in their mentality. And they'll always be ridiculing their sugar daddy. Always. And whenever I talk to them, they're making fun of their sugar daddy. There's something wrong. The guy falls short in some way or another. And then there's always another guy that they're sleeping with who isn't paying them. Those are the things that I've noticed, is like when they're getting that guy who leads with money, there's always another guy who doesn't have to pay, who they're having sex with as well.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was a really interesting concept. And if guys don't understand that, then.
And that concept is exactly what I just described. A lot of sugar daddies are old, not as attractive. They don't feel like they can compete with the younger studs out there. And they've come into a lot of money, a lot of excess money, and they're willing to throw it around just to get a taste of some young ass. That's really what it is. Now, you hit the jackpot if you're a sugar daddy and you're like 25 years old, multimillionaire, already successful, jacked. If you got it all, dude, in the beginning, you're probably getting on those sites and not paying a dime for anything because the women want you already and you have money already. You're hitting all the checks. It's a negotiation that we're doing here. The uglier and older you are, the more money you got to put out. That's why these chicks are making thousands of dollars, and they say them on their TikToks and on their reels, that they go out, men are doing the most just to meet me. So what are you bringing to the table? I got paid $500 just to meet my man. My man paid me $500 just to see me. That's your sugar daddy. And he's old and nasty. And he's paying for it up front. He's still getting the sugar though. You're not really winning. He's trading his money as leverage to make up for the fact that he is not as attractive as what you could get. And you're giving up your body for material possessions. It is what it is. If you're a young guy and you're doing well and you're on those sites, you're not paying a penny. Those women are giving it up for free just to hang around you.
What happens is you get led down this fairy tale path, and then those are the guys who get hurt the most.
Yeah. I've had scenarios where girls go out to these fancy dinner dates, restaurants, and I kid you not, they literally bring me the leftovers. I've been, the same night.
Yeah,
or,
same.
They see me the next day, or
Same.
one time this girl was on this yacht that she got invited to by this guy. They had a party, whatever, and then afterwards she went home and cleaned off and came to me. And
one of the craziest girls I ever met was in LA, and she was doing the sugar baby stuff. She was hanging around with, I don't even know if I can name drop. Let's just say A-list celebrities, you know them, was sleeping with them, was one of the girls in the rotation. I ended up finding this later. She was for fun anyways. Hot as hell, obviously. A complete Barbie. Just use your imagination. And the stories she told me blew me away. I thought I had a crazy past and I was experiencing crazy shit and I lived like a movie lifestyle at one point. My God, what this girl experienced by the age of like 22 put me to shame. I'll tell this story. She went on a Southeast Asian trip with like some rich sheik, we'll say that, a gentleman from the Middle East. And the dude brought like 15 girls with him, all for fun. And by the way this works is the girls invite their girlfriends. The girls have these little in groups and it's expected that they bring their friends. And yes, they're all having a fun together with a guy. There was constant sex, orgies, all this crazy stuff happening. There was only one rule. Do not post that you're here with me. Do not involve me in anything in your social media whatsoever. Of course, the bozos are all jealous and trying to mark their territory. So one of them posted the guy. The guy ends up having big issues with that and tells them to pack their bags and buys them a ticket to get out, never contacts them again. So they lost connection with this sugar daddy. But there's plenty of stories that I've heard of famous people in LA running through these girls and doing the craziest shit. So I am an Eskimo bro with a bunch of famous people unwittingly. I learned later on when she got more comfortable and told me, but if a girl's beautiful, I'm convinced now. She's a drop dead gorgeous and lives in LA. Bro, you've dipped your stick with the greats. And then some. That's just dating in the West today, especially in a clown show like Hollywood and Los Angeles.
I haven't taken her out one time. So that's where I realized too is that it's just different rules for different guys. And the way that I go about my communication and how I frame it, I kind of position myself in that different guy zone because of my frame and the boundaries that I kind of set whenever I'm leading the interaction.
Like the guy who doesn't count. Is that what you mean? When you say different guy zone, what do you mean? I talk about the guy who doesn't count. She like literally will not admit that you're on her body count, but she slept with you in Cancun. Like the guy who doesn't count.
That's definitely an aspect of it. And I'm sure I don't count list too.
Yes.
But I'm talking about the guy who doesn't even have to take her out on a date.
Yeah.
They're not serious. I know what he's the fun guy. That's what he's talking about. He's the guy that she doesn't see a future with whatsoever. Like he's too crazy. He's too wild. He's too detached. He's really just there for sex. Like he's positioning himself because he's good looking. He's in shape. Clearly this guy does well with women, but the way he's positioning himself to maximize on that is he's playing on the whole like ultra bad boy. I'm not settling for anybody. I'm here for pure fun and feels. He's the pure fun and feels guy. And when she looks at him for something long term, she knows it's never going to happen. He's too crazy. He's not. No, just it can't. I could only see this guy to have fun in bed and that's it. Unfortunately, they'll still get emotionally attached. And then what are we? Conversation will always happen. Believe me, it does. It will always happen. And that's when you cut them loose for a new girl. But the guy's just described. I got memories coming up as he's talking like, damn, dude, back in my day.
Just come right over the crib. But other guys, they have to take her out to dinner first.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, different rules for different guys.
Yeah, you'll know you're doing it right when you're sitting at home playing Red Dead Redemption and she leaves a dinner date to come over to your place and brings you food. I definitely seen it.
Yeah, I had chicks bring me food. I had them bring wine. I had them come over straight after a date with another dude. I knew she was on a date. I was making fun of her for being on a date. Literally would write like, when you're done and bored or he says something stupid to piss you off, go ahead and message me and come over. Dude, and the girl's texting me while on the date with the guy, laughing at the shit he's saying, and then he'll mess up eventually, or she gets bored of him because I'm texting her while I'm in my underwear at home watching like Netflix or chilling, talking to my roommate or something, and this dude's putting all the stops to get her attention and look good in her eyes. And then she goes, okay, got bored now. I'm going to come over. I'll be there in like 30 minutes with the to-go bag of a nice steak she only took like 3 bites of with dessert, bro. And I'm rearranging guts. And then that dude's writing that I had such a great time tonight. Felt a connection text. When you see female nature, dude, puts ice in your veins. You understand that beyond the veil, there are 2 categories of men for women. There's the raw animal attraction and there's the infinite negotiation that I'm doing. That's it. Those are the 2 men. Most men fall into the infinite negotiation category. You got to negotiate everything for her opening her legs or her attention. You got to buy me things. You got to take me out. You got to get me flowers. You got to jump through hoops. You got to pass the test. You got to do a million different things constantly over and over and over again to reaffirm why I should be with you instead of raw primal attraction guy that I really want. A lot of men's feelings get hurt, man. This is a brutal reality that you don't want to accept. You'll never know. Most guys, dude, it's sad, have never felt raw animal attraction from a woman. You think your sex drive is too high? You've been with a woman and she couldn't keep up with your sex drive? You're Mr. Infinite Negotiator. That's who you were. You weren't raw primal attraction. When you meet a raw primal attracted woman, you can hardly keep up with her. She's ready to go. Anytime, anywhere, zero limits. There's nothing she won't do, and it'll blow you away. And they're rare, dude. They're far and few in between, even when you do look good, because there's a lot of variables that have to come into play. She has to concoct an image in her head, all the experiences she's had, all the media, all the art, everything she's ever consumed in her life has concocted in her brain the ideal man. Now, when she meets that version of her ideal man in the real world, boy, oh boy, is it magic. It's crazy. Those girls will still text you till this day. It could be 10 years have passed. I'm telling you, they're still texting to this day. They're still watching stories till this day. They're still trying. Some of them are already married. Some of them already have kids. Doesn't matter. You're the one that got away. Alpha widow. It is real. You can tell when you have a woman wrapped around your finger that way. It's impossible to miss. If you don't know for sure you've ever had that, you've never had it. And like I said, it's rare because all these variables have to come together. So it's far beyond just how attractive you are, just physically, objectively. It's all the ideals she has implanted in her head of what a man should be. And don't let this get you down. Even the high value males, the rich dudes, the athletes, all of them are negotiating in some way or another because they're not even the ideal. They just have high stats in certain areas, which is why some women will put up with them, but they're falling short in other parts of their lives, either privately or between the women. They may be super simps. They may be spineless turds. Like you have no idea. Just because a dude has money or is competent in some area of his life that has gotten him fame, infamy, or wealth doesn't mean that he's competent when it comes with dealing with women. So, and all of this is under the pretext of the current dating market and the hookup culture that we're in. So that's it. If you're going the religious route of not having sex till marriage and all that stuff, the game's changed completely. It's a whole different beast. When the body count is truly zero for both, none of this stuff even applies to you at all. Your value system is completely different. But again, we have to be realistic here. That's not the system that you're under currently in the West. So you're going to have to get a passport and go somewhere in some backwater place if you want to get to that level. And, that may be a step too big for some. So let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you on the next one.